look, it's been a dramatic day, hasn't it? Oil has gone up more in the last 24 hours than in any other single day in the last 6 years. And I guess we wait to see what happens when the UK markets open at 8. How worried should we be?
Well, there's no threat to supplies into the country at the moment. The government, of course, all of us are looking at what's happening with the oil prices. We have to keep that under review to make sure that we're taking any action that might be required. But we don't know how long this situation is going to go on for. But the government is keeping a very close eye on the situation and monitoring it. But I do think of course, there'll be the short-term concerns. But long-term, it does show that the government is doing the right thing, I think, in seeking to move from a fossil fuel-based economy towards a clean energy economy, because that would protect us from the kind of shock that we may be seeing in the Gulf right now and what happened when Russia invaded Ukraine.
Just on that, because UK gas prices jump more than elsewhere, wholesale gas up 70%, we're reliant more on gas imports, we've got less gas storage than in Europe, and I know you make the point that this strengthens the argument for fossil fuel, for renewables.
Yeah.
But others are saying that actually there is another way that we need to look at as well. So the boss of Octopus Energy, for example, we should use what's available from the North Sea. While the price is set globally, there is no point shipping gas from the other side of the world when we have it here. Well, it's not either or.
We are using what's available in the North Sea. None of the contracts have been cancelled for mining oil from the North Sea. But
you haven't changed. It's important to be. Sorry. I'm only jumping because I think it's important not to mislead. Like, we haven't changed our policy on North Sea and not for new licences, have we?
Well, no, there aren't new licences, but we haven't cancelled any of the existing licences. The key thing is we need to shift away from reliance on fossil fuel. Even if we were, the oil that comes out of the North Sea is no cheaper for British people or oil that comes from Russia or from the Middle East or from any of the other hotspots around the world, because the price is set globally. So it doesn't help the concerns that you've just raised about prices.
So the boss of Octopus Energy is wrong then? He's wrong?
Well, I think he said in the quote that you just heard, I haven't heard him speak himself, but he did say the price is set globally. So whatever we get out of the North Sea is at the global price. So it doesn't make the price go down in the UK.
He's saying we have more gas here that we should be taking more use of. He goes on to say ideology, wishful thinking, nostalgia and culture wars don't provide actual solutions.
If the previous government had done what this government is doing and had driven the switch to clean energy, so more wind, wave and solar power and more nuclear power, then we wouldn't be at the mercy of people like the Ayatollahs in Iran or Vladimir Putin in Russia. Now, the previous government didn't do that. We are doing it. And it's the right thing to do for the long-term security of our energy supply, but also keeping prices down and avoiding shocks when those places in the world where that petrol and oil come from see incidents.
We could talk about this for a long time. Yeah. There's a live debate on this, but there's a few other things I do want to hit. So the government's promised people repeatedly £300 off their energy bills. And Ed Miliband told me last week that means an annual average bill of £1,450. I mean, given what's happening and with the projections that we're seeing, are you still sticking to that pledge, Mark, £300 off energy bills?
Despite what's happening, in April, households will see a cut of £150 in their energy bills.
That's a different question. I know that. The price cap lasts until May, but then after that, it's expected to go up. The government has repeatedly said you'll have £300 off energy bills. Ed Miliband confirmed to me last week that means the average annual bill of £1,450. That's not going to happen, is it?
Well, we have to keep an eye on the situation. I don't know, and nor does anybody, how long the situation in the Middle East will go on for. Perhaps it'll be a few days, perhaps it will be longer, but I don't think we need to always look at the worst case scenario. As things stand, people will get £150 off their energy bills in April, and that's locked in then for 3 months. Perhaps this situation will be resolved within that time, and that's what we all hope for. But if we want to plan for the long term and plan not to be subject to price increases if conflicts happen in places like the Middle East, then we need to shift away from dependence on fossil fuel towards clean energy, and that's precisely what the government is doing.
The reason that I'm talking about the promise you made on energy bills, it's not your fault what's happened. You weren't involved in this action.
Yep.
But I think the point I guess I want to say is that you're promising things that you don't know if you can deliver. You don't know if people's bills can go down to £300 if global prices go. And if I could, Rachel Reeves' spring forecast last week, she pegged this government's fortunes to inflation coming down. This is not something that you can always control. Why do you keep promising things that you don't know you can deliver?
Well, as you say, we can't control all the events that may happen all the way across the world that will affect the country. What we can do is put ourselves in the best position possible to withstand those shocks. So by stabilising the economy, by being able to make the announcements that Rachel did in the spring statement about falling inflation, rising growth, wages rising, all of that puts the country in a better situation to withstand shocks of the kind we've seen in the Middle East and of the kind that we saw a few years ago in Ukraine when Russia invaded.
Donald Trump is still pretty furious, it's clear, with Keir Starmer for not backing him from the start. Is the relationship recoverable?
Of course it is. I mean, the relationship between the UK and the US is deep and it's abiding, and the leaders of the two countries don't always agree on absolutely everything. But there was a call last night, I understand, between the President and the Prime Minister. It was very constructive, as you would expect. And although the UK did not take part in the initial strikes, because we didn't see there was a legal basis for the UK to be involved at that stage, when Iran responded with reckless attacks on other countries in the Middle East, then as allies of those countries, we have come to their defence.
Tony Blair told a Jewish news event on Friday, I think we should have backed America from the very beginning. They were asking us to use our bases for refuelling. It's not like Vietnam, it's not like in Iraq.
Well, he's absolutely entitled to his view as well, but it will be the Prime Minister and the government that take decisions in the national interest.
What do you think he's right then, Tony Blair, or not?
No, I don't agree with him. I think we need to learn lessons from Iraq over 20 years ago now, but there was a big inquest into that. There are lessons to be learnt. It is our government that will take decisions about what is in the British national interest. And as I said earlier, we concluded there was not a legal basis for the UK to be involved in the initial strikes, but we have jets in the air right now acting in defence of our allies in the region because of the reckless way that Iran has responded.
Ed Davey is calling for the King to cancel his planned trip to the States. Do you think that's a good idea?
Well, I don't think it's for Ed Davey. I think it's for the King and the Palace to take decisions like that, and I don't think it's for me to comment on that either.
OK, thank you very much indeed. Steve Reed speaking to us there.